All right, so let's move away from the Super Bowl, and of course the big news before. I think this is before the Super Bowl actually happened, but Tom Brady, probably the greatest of all time for football, at least, he retired. There's been rumors that he's going to come back. I think he can still play, but I don't think he's coming back because I thought that was more of his wife saying, you're done. You've done everything you can. I want you to spend time with us more. But do you guys actually think Brady comes back? Because I think Gronk still thinks that. I don't believe him, but do you guys actually think Brady comes back?
I mean, it would be a very Brady thing to do, but obviously the retirement in that sense, if he goes to San Francisco, was kind of to show the Bucs that he would retire, so they would trade him or release his contract, whatever that is. I don't know. It feels weird. Like I'm 24 and Brady's been in the league 22 years, so it just feels like he should always be in the league. Like I want him to kind of I hated him his whole career kind of until he left the Patriots, and I kind of never want him to leave now. Like he's just part of the NFL. Like just have him out there tossing the coins or whatever. I don't know.
It's Tom Brady's no longer a player and he's not a referee, but every game he has to be there in like a blazer and he flips the coin. That'd be a good bet.
They have like a specially gold jacket for him to wear, and it's like that's Tom. Everyone's like, you go to an NFL game, like you bring your kid to their first NFL game, it's like, we get to see Tom Brady today. It's like, yeah, of course, he's at every game.
And his glimmering golden jacket. Yeah,
exactly. He becomes like a folk hero. He's like he's like floating through the stadium.
They have statues of him across the land. Anyway,
but Roger Goodell would love that.
Yeah,
he would love that. He would love that. He'd probably want one in his front yard. Anyway, but Brady, him leaving, I agree with Smith to an extent too. It's kind of like our whole lives for the most part. We've seen Brady playing in the league. He's one of the greatest athletes to ever play in sports. Definitely the greatest football player at all time, especially when it comes to accomplishments. So I don't think he'll come back. I think the whole thing with him leaving New England, there were a lot of people who were like, oh, he's leaving because he's tired of how things are going with Bill, or, oh, his family wants to move somewhere where it's not freezing cold all the time and all these other things. He's pretty much gone and accomplished all the things he wanted to accomplish away from New England. He won a Super Bowl. His family is now in a place that's a little more enjoyable. Like, I'm sure that his wife loves being in warmer weather. I'm sure his family enjoys it as well. His kids are getting older. He wants to be able to have relationships with his family. Then football, as much as he loves the game of football and football has done so much for him, it's not going to be enough to take him away from experiencing life and with his family and things like that. Because he is also a guy who talks so much about how important his father and his whole family is to him. I think he wants to have that same experience with his kids. So even a gross contract from any team that needs a quarterback couldn't draw Tom Brady back, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's funny. Me and our gambling correspondent, Will Einfeld, we did a podcast titled "Go Hang Out with Your Kids, Tom," or something like that, where he talked about like he's never gonna leave. Like he hates hanging out with his family, and then like it's almost like a week or two later, he's gone, and it's like, I gotta hang out with my family. I don't know if you guys saw I think it was a tweet, or maybe I saw it quoted on Twitter, but he was basically like, I'm the best quarterback ever, but I'm playing dad at like a JV high school level.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really, like, for a guy that was in New England forever, that kind of was stoic, the do your job guy. It was nice to see his personality flourish the last couple of years, and I wanted more. But honestly, if he retires, and I think he will, happy trails to him. I hope he reconnects with his kids. And eats a fast food cheeseburger. I love the memes where he gets all fat, because it's just like, oh yeah, that would be so fun. Like big, like 300 pound Tom Brady, not pliable at all, dude.
Well, I mean, it's eventually going to happen with Brady. Eventually, he's going to start eating fast food and stuff like that. He probably will still stick with it for the next 2 years, but eventually, it always comes down to, or it always eventually happens. But it is going to be weird, though, with Brady retiring. We have no more Peyton Manning. Big Ben is now retired. Drew Brees is gone. I mean, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning. I mean, basically, I've pretty much I've grown up with all of those guys playing. So it's gonna be weird not to see him. And in a few years, Rodgers is probably gonna quit and not play anymore. So it is gonna be weird with all those big time quarterbacks not playing anymore. But again, I think Brady did everything he needed to do. I mean, he won 3 league MVPs. He probably should have won this year because of how good he had a season this year. He won 7 Super Bowls. He won a Super Bowl without Belichick. He's got 5 Super Bowl MVPs. Like, I mean, what else is there to accomplish? And it's kind of like that episode of, I don't know if you guys watch Gridiron Heights or anything like that, but there was one episode, I think it was 2 or 3 episodes ago where he retires and he thinks, the NFL is done because he's no more playing. Like, no, we gotta keep on going and stuff like that. But I thought that was so true because like Brady for the last 20 years, outside of Roger Goodell hating him, he's pretty much been the league. So it's going to be weird not to see him. I don't think I think he's going to be with his family for a while. I don't think he's actually going to be like an analyst because I don't think he'd be that great of an announcer. But I mean, what do you think is next for Brady?
More plastic surgery?
Yeah, more endorsements, I think, for sure.
I think the wrinkles are starting to show under your eyes. If you're listening, Tom, I think you got to go back. I think you're starting to show that you're 45, dude. You might want to get your hair colored again.
Yeah, he does have white hair now. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe all of a sudden he's like, I'm not on TV anymore. Like kind of how Jon Stewart let himself go. He's like just beard, and it's like, oh man, they really do you have next for him? He's gonna keep doing the TB12 stuff, pliability. I kind of want to look into that. Obviously it works. You know what would be great? I just had this thought. So Tom retires. What is he, 44 now? 5 years goes by as Hall of Famer. That next season, he'll be 50. A team, all of the pieces, all of the tools in the toolbox, the quarterback down early in the season, knee exploded. What's that? It's Tom Brady's music. The old man, he trots out onto the field, 50 years old, only active Hall of Famer to ever play a game. That would be fun. I don't know. I just
that'd be pretty good. He's got like an intimidating walk-up song. It's like Johnny Cash. Like God's gonna cut you down. It's like all intimidating walks in.
Yeah, he gets off a horse. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he gets off a horse. Yeah, no, I think that he'll just be really involved in endorsements and stuff. I'm sure that any type of football outlet media-wise is going to want to get their hands on an opportunity with him. He's got so much money. His family has so much money that, frankly, he probably wouldn't have to do anything if he didn't want to. But I think it'll be at least like a year of time before he really goes crazy on anything. I could see his career path ending up being something like Troy Aikman, where like, he's just such a well-known figure, and like him or hate him, like people pay attention to what he says when he's on the screen. So I feel like there's an avenue for that if he wants to. But Tom Brady seems more like the guy where he'll pursue commercials and maybe do television or maybe some type of like small roles in film like he's done in the past. I don't know. It's really endless for him because like I said, it's literally love him or hate him. You know who he is. So you recognize him, and that pulls for anyone trying to do marketing.
Or he clones himself. The clone hangs out with the family, learns to be a father. You have the montage of him in the apron, baking cookies with the kids and whatever. And he's doing the grind. I don't know. What do you think about that, Ethan? Clone Brady?
That'd be how about with virtual reality expanding? He is the face of the new virtual reality. Like he's like the spokesperson, the famous like you've seen the Simpsons bit in the Simpsons movie where Tom Hanks comes onto the screen and he's like talking about the explosion, but he has like magic fairy dust coming out of his hands to lighten the mood. That'll be what Tom Brady does. He'll just be like the feel good, like, hi, I'm Tom Brady.
Welcome to the Bradyverse. Yeah, exactly.
That's a good one. The Bradyverse would be solid. Anyway, JJ, we are off the rails.
This is what we do. If anyone out there wants to come listen to us, get off the rails. Yeah.
Oh, you're good. I totally understand it. It's going to be interesting to see what Brady does. I mean, he could maybe, I don't know if he has enough money to do this, but he could do maybe like, I think the Mannings are considering possibly owning a franchise like the Broncos. he could possibly go into that, but I just don't think he has the money because of course, his wife has probably got more money than he does, but I don't think he ever actually, because he never took a massive, like he always took pay cuts to get better. So I don't know if his team was actually like, I know Peyton Manning and Eli Manning, they took as much money as they could. And now they have money to possibly own a team, but I don't know if Brady has the money to do that. I mean, he's got his own business, but I mean, it'd be interesting to see if he actually wants to own a team. I mean, maybe he could, own a certain percentage with the Mannings, but I mean, it would be interesting to see if he did that too, but I don't know. We'll see. And what's next for Tampa now? Because they most likely are going to need a quarterback. Blaine Gabbert is clearly not the answer. Kyle Trask, I don't think he's the answer. I mean, I've heard the rumors of maybe, I don't think Rodgers is going to Tampa because the Packers wouldn't trade him to the NFC. But do you think a guy like, if Deshaun Watson, when he can actually play next, do you think you could see a guy like Watson in Tampa? Because it is the AFC and the NFC. So, I mean, what do you guys think?
It's kind of tricky, right? Like they're already a desirable location. That team is so talented. Not a lot has changed. Their defense is still extremely stout and very, very versatile in the amount of talent they have on every level. I think their offense, even without Chris Godwin, still has the ability to hum. They just need to draw or draft another talented wide receiver to pair with Evans in that offense. If Gronk sticks around, they have a solid tight end. Their offensive line's phenomenal. There's opportunity where this team changes enough that they might not be able to just draw any name they want. But from my thought, I would say that if you're a free agent, what's not to like about Tampa compared to any other team? You have a great coach who's won a Super Bowl. You have a team that is capable of being in a Super Bowl, still technically in their window, just short of a quarterback. Like if I were Tampa Bay, I'd take any opportunity at Russell Wilson if the price isn't too high for asking. I know the Raiders want to keep Derek Carr around, but that would be a great quarterback to plug into a team like that to try to win a championship. And even on a lower level, to just save money, don't doubt the idea of them looking at Jameis Winston again. Like it's crazy because, he tore his ACL and people are like, oh, why would they bring him back to the organization? Well, he's a low cost value where you can bring him in and, he has relationships in the building already. So why not be able to just step in right away at a low cost, bridge the gap between what you're looking for. And, if I'm them, you have a first round pick for a reason. You have so many talented players in your team. Draft a quarterback. They took Kyle Trask last year in a later round pick. I believe he was their second round pick. And they took him with the hopes that he'd maybe develop behind Brady, learn a couple things. From what I've heard, it seems like that organization's kind of out on Kyle Trask and his ability to be the future. So if they like the class enough this year, find a guy you believe in, draft him, put a quarterback into place for this season that can help you get to the playoffs, help you win now while you still have the win now team. And if it happens to be Russell Wilson or it happens to be Deshaun Watson, if all that's cleared up, I don't doubt the Buccaneers are going to pursue every avenue.
Yeah, it's really quarterback or bust for them, right? Like,
right.
You have the pieces. Depending on if you bring Godwin back, you could fill that role in the offense, the receiver next to Mike Evans, a slot guy. But if you don't get the quarterback, this team isn't going anywhere. I do, blow it up at that point, right? You got your Super Bowl. I do believe Super Bowl and then a rebuild, kind of a la the Eagles, is always a fun move because your fan base is going to be fine with it, right? Because you just won a Super Bowl, so they don't really have much to complain about. So the Bucks fans got to be ecstatic with how the Brady era went, even just for 2 years.
And it shows too, right? Like you can be a team that sells out for a Super Bowl for one season and then afford to do a rebuild, because you just said it. Now your fans and a league-wide level of attention is focused on you for at least the next couple of years. And I think the New Orleans Saints are a great example of that. They won their Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and they were still a phenomenal winning team. But, they were in the national eye around the league.
It's been a while now,
dude. No, but I
do this. No. I do this all the time on the show. I say a couple, and I really mean beyond 10 years.
But I think that's a really good point, though. That's kind of, I've always said I said this with the Rams: a title is worth 10 years. right?
Right.
So that's why Sean Payton left. Some rumors he might go to the Cowboys or whatever. But that's why you leave if you're Sean Payton. He had that buffer of forever because he won the Super Bowl. New Orleans got over the hump. So it's kind of the same thing here. Like, I don't think Bruce Arians is long for this team without Brady, right? They got to figure out a lot of stuff there. I don't know if Byron Leftwich is the answer. Maybe,
well,
Bowles. Or did Bowles leave?
No, he's still there. I think he's still there.
Yeah. So he could take over, but I don't know.
I guess my final thought on this too is that it's really hard to tell what they want to win now. But no team really has the formula, because the only team in these last few years, see, even that makes it sound like not a lot, in the last decade, let's say, the Patriots are the only example of an organization that has repeatedly had success in the postseason when it comes to winning championships. And so no team necessarily has that formula. The Bucs, of course, want to get the best possible quarterback in the building because they think they know the formula since they won a couple of years ago. And time will tell if that's the case. But while you're in that moment, you got to do everything you can to swing for the fences. And I know there's a lot of teams outside of the Bucs who are going to be trying to do the same.
Yeah. Where do you think they should go, JJ?
For Tampa, I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to be that great next year, because if they don't get a good quarterback, I don't think Gronk is coming back, because the only reason why Gronk came back in the first place is because of Brady. I don't think they have the money to pay Godwin. There's a few players on defense that's a free agent. You also have Leonard Fournette. I think he's also a free agent.
He is a free agent.
I think Ronald Jones still has 1 year left in his contract, I believe. I just don't know. I mean, Tampa will, if they get a decent quarterback, they'll probably be a playoff team, because again, that division, the NFC South, is pretty much garbage. I mean, New Orleans isn't probably going to be good. Carolina's been terrible the last few years. Atlanta, they're getting worse, I think. I really don't know. I mean, Jameis Winston makes sense, but I'm not sure if they want to bring him back or if he actually wants to go. I think he's going to end up staying in New Orleans. There are some decent quarterbacks out there. Like, there is Teddy Bridgewater, who's a free agent. I don't think he's going back to Denver. He did an all right job last year.
Is he still alive?
Bridgewater?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
when he murdered himself, like the second to last week of the season.
When he fell and hit.
That's when Drew Lock started, because Teddy
and Drew Lock's one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen.
Horrible concussion.
I think Bridgewater's a great name, though, JJ. I think that's a really overlooked name.
That division, though, on your point, it is going to be dreadful if someone doesn't figure it out. I do not trust Rule. Falcons, who knows? They might blow it up. Saints might have the defense. They might blow it up, right? I mean, that could be an 8-9 division winner.
Yeah, it's similar to the NFC North, too, because if they lose Rodgers, if Rodgers does get, in fact, traded, I mean, the Vikings could possibly be a decent team, but they were the second best team of that division, and they went 8-9. And I think Detroit is still 1 or 2 years away. Even if Dan Campbell is the answer, they still got to figure out their quarterback situation. Chicago, I mean, is Justin Fields going to be good? He kind of struggled last year, but he did kind of have a trash team, and now he has a new coach. I don't think Matt Eberflus was a great hiring, especially for developing Justin Fields. We'll see what happens, but I mean, that the Buccaneers really have a choice, and they could draft a quarterback too and keep him, because most of the quarterbacks this year in the draft, you'd have to have them sit for a year or two, because I don't think any of them are first day starters. But I think drafting a quarterback and signing a guy like Winston or Bridgewater, or, I mean, you could sign Fitzpatrick, bring him back as well, and draft a quarterback and him develop. I don't know what Tampa's really going to do, but I do think Tampa still has a chance to win that dreadful division right now. So we'll see what happens.